I think Chairman Powell may have given us a buy signal on everything this morning. So the first thing I'm going to look at here is the NASDAQ. Some of my previous videos I had noted 15,000 is what I think is maybe an important level. And once that's breached, we could maybe start the final melt-up phase. So we had a long consolidation right here. We've broken out, and now we've had a smaller consolidation right below 15,000. The day obviously isn't over yet, but it doesn't really look to me like this is going to turn back around and close back below 15,000. So this looks like a buy signal to me, maybe the start of that final melt-up phase. Oil, discussed oil in some of my recent videos, and I think this is a final intermediate cycle low right here. So we should have many weeks, maybe multiple months before this is tops. The last recognizable ICL was back in November. So this is a really long intermediate cycle, which could mean that we have a slightly short cycle this time. But this resistance zone here at about 77, my assumption is that price is going to test that pretty quickly during this first daily cycle for sure. And the rule is that breakouts that occur early in an intermediate cycle tend to produce sustained moves. So I think we're going to get a breakout above 77 and get a sustained move maybe towards that 100 or 110 level. All right, and this is the dollar index. I think this may be what's fundamentally going to drive everything. I think the Fed gave the all clear to or regained control of the currency markets, and I suspect, so I'll put this trend line in here. This looks like the intermediate trend line is being broken here. So it's just marginal right now, but that opens the possibility that this is an intermediate top, and it's occurring on, I believe it's on week 12. So there is a potential for this to left translate. Right now it's topping kind of right in the middle of a normal cycle, so it could go either way, but a strongly right translated cycle would top maybe somewhere around week 15 to week 20. So a potential intermediate top here on week 12 has the potential to come down and break below this, give us a failed intermediate cycle, and if they do, then this is the 3-year cycle low. And I had noted this in one of my premium reports for my subscribers that this rally out of this 3-year cycle low has been very weak. It's churned through about 8 months and really hasn't managed to go much of anywhere. So obviously we're going to need to see what happens next week, but as of right now, there is a potential here that this is this intermediate cycle is left translating, and if it comes down and breaks below this low, that's going to tell us that the 3-year cycle has topped, and it would have done so without really producing much of any kind of rally here, which would be really bearish going into the next 3-year cycle low in 2024. And then, of course, this has implications for gold as well. If the dollar is in intermediate decline, if the 3-year cycle has rolled over, it's going to be extremely difficult to impossible for the cartel to keep the metals suppressed any longer. I've been telling subs that I thought this was probably, obviously this was an artificial attack, but they were not able to get any sustained follow through. They were not able to break the March low, and the metals launched right back up. And today we're breaking through this intermediate trend line, which is more or less our final confirmation that this is indeed an intermediate cycle low. So if the bull is resuming, if this handle and this massive cup and handle pattern, and let me expand the chart so you can see that. All right, so pretty well defined cup, consolidation phase, accumulation phase, and then we've got the handle here. probably helped out a little bit um, during this intermediate cycle. But as I said, or not helped out, but extended a little bit. I think the natural bottom for this handle was probably right here, but then we had some big attacks, and then we had that attack a couple weeks ago that tried to break below this low, but was unable to accomplish that. So it's possible here that maybe the handle is done and we're ready for the next leg up in metals. All right, so again, we need to see how the market closes, but as of right now anyway, you can see all of the attempts to try and prevent gold from closing back above that 10-week moving average. But this week, it does not look like they're going to be able to paint the chart. We've still got several hours to the close, so I'm not going to, we don't have confirmation just yet, but at this point anyway, I think the odds of a successful attack on gold to push this back below this 10-week moving average is probably unlikely. And a close above the 10-week moving average more often than not, especially considering how late it is in this intermediate cycle. It's probably our last confirmation that we've got an intermediate bottom, and we're ready for the next advancing phase of the next intermediate cycle. So what I want to see is whether or not this first daily cycle can retest the previous intermediate cycle high during this first daily cycle. If it does, that's a very strong sign, and then at that point, I think we could test the all-time highs. I'll widen this chart just a little bit. If we can test this intermediate top very quickly during this first daily cycle, then there'll be plenty of time for a retest and maybe a breakout from these all-time highs. And as I've noted in some of my previous videos, the CRB I think has started a new secular bull market. The 3-year cycle has already made a higher high than the previous 3-year cycle, and this is in the CRB. And so I would expect that CRB to right translate, which means probably no top to that 3-year cycle for at least another year, maybe another year and a half. And it seems unlikely to me that the rest of the commodity complex would continue to rally for another year and a half while gold continues down. That doesn't seem likely to me. So my expectation is that gold is going to follow the rest of the commodity complex, and it will make a higher high above this as well before that commodity complex tops and starts down into the 3-year cycle low. So everything just depends on how quickly we can get back up here and test this intermediate cycle high. Now let me look at silver. So here's the chart of silver. You can see this long basing pattern for over a year now, just churning sideways. And again, the rule is that a breakout that occurs early in the intermediate cycle produces sustained follow-through. So the expectation is that one of these intermediate cycle lows is going to rocket launch, and it's going to come up and test this upper boundary of this sideways consolidation at, let's just call it $30. It's going to test that early in the intermediate cycle, and then there'll probably be some kind of a small pullback, but then we should get a breakout, and a breakout from a sideways pattern this long should take us to $50. So I want to keep an open mind on every single one of these intermediate cycle lows, and because one of them, I think, is gonna rocket launch and is going to get us back up to $30 really quickly, and then that's the one that's going to give us the breakout. So here was one intermediate cycle low, again, very sluggish. It wasn't even close to, it chewed up a bunch of weeks, and it wasn't really close to getting to that $30 range. Here was another intermediate cycle low, and it did test that $30 range, but it did it pretty late in the intermediate cycle. So not a great setup for a breakout. And then we got another intermediate cycle low here, but again, we kind of wasted 12 weeks and we didn't actually, even get up here to test this $30 range. So another cycle that just really wasn't set up well for the breakout. So, I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt because one of these is going to give us that rocket launch out of the intermediate cycle low, and we're going to test this $30 really quickly. And then when we do, we're going to break out and we're going to make that run to 50. So I don't know if this is the one that's going to do it or not, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because it might be. And I don't want to miss it when it happens. So right now, I like silver above everything else. I know the miners have been really beat up, but I'm just kind of disillusioned with the miners. That's kind of where the cartel has been focusing their attacks lately. Maybe the miners will break free, maybe not. I don't know, but I like the setup, this sideways consolidation, and I'm anticipating at some point we're going to get a breakout above this $30 and make that run to 50. So I want to give this the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is the one that's going to do it. So I'm this is what I like the best in the metals right now is silver, and for those reasons.